Gustavo,
no.
Last week we invited you on for once to talk positively about Brazil, but as we know, usually it's your lovely face that we see when things aren't going well for Brazil, and that's certainly the case today, my friend. Your reaction to what we saw last night?
Hello, okay, good morning, Ale. Well, a huge disappointment for Brazil, for sure. A huge disappointment because everybody was expecting at least the quarterfinals against England. This was the expectation in Brazil. Everybody was believing at Ancelotti's capacity to take this team forward, but yesterday, of course, it was a really disappointment for all the fans in Brazil. I think that Brazil lost to a team that has a bunch of excellent players and one player that decided the match. Of course, I think that yesterday Ancelotti had some bad decisions, especially with Neymar, to bring Neymar to the game. At that point, Brazil lost the ball possession. Brazil lost the capacity to pressure high the Norway team. So I think that Carlo Ancelotti is one of the best managers ever, of course, but yesterday he unfortunately had some bad decisions. The best players of Brazil also didn't have a good game, so I think that now Brazil needs to restart the cycle, because everything that happened over these last 4 years was probably the worst ever cycle of work with the Brazilian national team. Carlo Ancelotti was called in the last year, and now we're gonna need 4 more years with 4 more good work from Ancelotti to believe again that this team can become a contender. Like I said last week, that I was believing that the team could become a contender match to match. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Gustavo, talk to us about the penalty. Bruno Guimaraes taking the penalty, it was saved. Why was it him, and what's the talk been afterwards? Okay. That's been we've lost Gustavo. He's done. He's had enough.
Yeah.
That's been a big turning point, it would seem, in this game, Ale.
Well, and according to reports, they did their math and they did their calculations and research and said that Bruno Guimaraes was the best penalty kick taker that was on the field, and so therefore he was the one to take it. I don't see much drama with that. I don't see what the problem is with that. There are other issues with Brazil. Other issues that started well before this competition even began. The moment you decided to bring Neymar with you to the World Cup, you were in trouble. Now, I'm not just saying that now. I've been saying this for months leading into this competition. And there have been other people in this panel, Herculez Gomez, that have defended Neymar over and over and over again. And here you have it. And here's the problem. And because people like Herculez may not be able to see the big picture. So I'll provide the big picture. The decisions made by Carlo Ancelotti yesterday in bringing Neymar, and the decision made to bring him into the World Cup, condition what this team does on the field, conditions what Vini Jr. does on the field. When you bring Neymar in, everybody's playing for Neymar, for a guy that is not fit, for a guy that is not what he once was. And they are now conceding the ball and yielding to Neymar and say, now you problem solve for us. And if you were to watch Brazil yesterday, who was the one player that could get after somebody in a 1v1 situation, which he did often enough, was Vini Jr. Now he's no longer participating nearly as much because Neymar has to have the ball. You have made that decision. You have made that problem for yourself in bringing Neymar onto this World Cup. When this team was winning games in the group stage and Neymar was still injured, the crowds in the stadium were asking for Neymar to come on the field. You did this to yourself, Carlo Ancelotti. You did this to yourself, Brazil. You have conditioned decisions because Neymar now had to be on the field. And the second leading goal scorer in the Premier League this year, Igor Thiago, on the bench when you need to score a goal late in a match. How does that make sense? And Neymar playing down the middle, but not really because he's coming to the ball to get the ball deep. That is just tactically wrong from Carlo Ancelotti, but it was wrong from the very beginning. This was poison from the very beginning.
Where do you stand on the Neymar factor, Gustavo? You're back with us.
Well, Neymar yesterday announced his retirement from international football, so we won't see Neymar again with the Brazilian national team. No, I definitely agree with Ale. I think that the decision to bring Neymar to the World Cup was a very bad decision from Carlo Ancelotti. And yesterday, on after what we were seeing in the pitch, what was happening in the game. I really don't believe that Neymar was the best option. We had some other better options maybe. I think that he really conditions everything that is happening around him. And as I said, I think that with Neymar, Brazil lost the ball possession, and including we have some FIFA graphics showing that Brazil lost the ball possession and also lost the capacity of pressing high. So yesterday definitely was not a good decision from Ancelotti.
Can I give you another example? The through ball that Vini Jr. plays to Endrick. Endrick playing through the middle, right? 1v1 situation which Endrick should have scored. He does not. But minutes later, Neymar comes on the field, and now Endrick is playing out wide right. You had your best chance going through the middle, through Endrick, into space. And now you said, no. See, we don't like 1v1 situations going against the goalkeeper, so we'll put him out here and have Neymar play through the middle, which means that you're playing with nobody through the middle. That did not make sense at all.
Ali, what do you think what the boys are saying?
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't good enough from Brazil, but also I think there's so much talk about how, poorly they played. But we have to give credit to Norway, who stepped out, who just outlasted them mentally. They were defensively dominant. They were confident. They put Brazil on their heels. They created opportunities. And obviously then you have Erling Haaland on your team, who was able to finish and, define this win. For Norway. So I know there's lots of talk about, Brazil and how they could have done so much better, and Ancelotti and his decision-making and management. But they haven't had a good tournament. And I think Norway has belief. They were resilient, and they were very confident. And they wanted it. They wanted to win, and they wanted to move on. And I think that is why we see them in the next round.
Part of the conversation leading up to this tournament in regards to Brazil, I'll get to Norway in a second, Ali. I know you're a glass half full, you're a beacon of positivity. Me today, not so much.
Today?
You know what, Kay, that was unnecessary. I get this at home already. In any case, Brazil, shortage of talent in key positions. One of those positions, which was obvious to see, center forward. You know how you need a center forward? Just watch across to the other side of the field. You see the big guy over there that touches the ball twice and scores goals? Brazil, they don't have that. You know where their best forward was? Brazil's best forward? Sitting in the stands. Ronaldo. That's where he was. Give me Ronaldo right now and put him out on the field, good Lord.
Just not the same haircut.
Well, not the same haircut, probably a couple of pounds lighter, but regardless, in all honesty, Brazil do not have a credible center forward. They don't, not the world-class level that Erling Haaland is. And you cannot deny how important it is to have a world-class striker. And if indeed Brazil were going to win the sixth World Cup, the Hexa, that's what they were talking about in Brazil. Hexa, okay. You're going to do that, you need a world-class striker. They don't have that. And that's one of the many positions in when they're shorting numbers.
We've got him all worked up here, Gustavo. And we saw the press as well, and we saw all those names over the years, the big stars for Brazil, and now we see this generation. How big of a crisis is this in Brazil?
That's a big crisis. That's a big crisis. We're going to have now 28 years without a World Cup title for Brazil. That's the longest ever drought of Brazil without a title. Because the first title was in 1958, the World Cup began in 1930, but we didn't have the World Cups in 42 and 46. So now we are living Brazil's longest drought ever without a title. So that's a huge crisis. But Carlo Ancelotti has just renewed his contract. So we know that he's going to be the manager. Now he's going to have to lead this reconstruction of the Brazilian team without some reference like Neymar. As I said, Neymar is out of the Brazilian squad now. He has announced his retirement from international football. Probably with some veteran players out, maybe Alisson, maybe Marquinhos. Carlo Ancelotti now will begin his work from zero. He has everything that he wants to begin his work from zero now. People in Brazil still believe in Carlo Ancelotti. Yesterday was, as I said, a huge disappointment. But I think that people in Brazil will believe in Carlo Ancelotti because he's one of the best managers ever. About the generation of Brazil, I still believe that we have some good players. Vinicius, Rafinha, Estevão, who was out of the World Cup. Endrick can become maybe this striker that we need. But of course, that there is a lack of talent in the midfield, in defense, especially in both fullbacks. Anyway, Brazil will need now to start a new cycle to really believe in the World Cup title.
Oh, Gustavo, thank you so much for joining us on what we know is a difficult day for you and Brazil.
Não, Gustavo. Do Brasil! Nossa.
Yep.
I
Great
hope to
have
see
you on.
Venezuela in the next
Oh,
World
wait,
Cup,
wait,
Ale.
why are we taking shots? Why are we taking shots? I'm trying to support you here.